Hey gang, and welcome back. Just a reminder, you can now use the promo code MTGMudsta, all caps, at flipsidegaming.com. You'll get 10% off orders over $10 and help with the channel at the same time. This week we go back to the guys in New Jersey, and Sean is playing his Malfegor deck and keeps a hand with Waste Not, Shattered Perception, Scour from Existence, Rakdos Carnarium, Mountain, Throne of the High City, and Dragonskull Summit. Matt is playing his Temmet deck and keeps a hand with Path to Exile, Cyclonic Rift, Serum Visions, Thopter Spy Network, Glacial Fortress, and 2 Plains. You can tell this is an old game because Mike is still playing his Sydri deck, and he keeps a hand with Grand Abolisher, Chalice of Life, Karmic Guide, Swamp, Island, Godless Shrine, and Halimar Depths. Lastly, Trevor is playing his Meren deck and keeps a hand with Llanowar Wastes, Farhaven Elf, Jungle Hollow, Life from the Loam, Temple of Malady, Runescarred Demon, and Animate Dead. Sean wins the die roll and starts us off. Sean plays a mountain for his turn and passes. Matt plays a plains and casts land tax, which he drew off the top. Mike plays Halimar Depths and rearranges his top 3 before passing. Trevor plays Temple of Malady, scries 1, and keeps the card on top. Sean takes 2 life loss to have Blood Crypt come into play untapped, and he pays 2 mana to cast Waste Not. On Matt's upkeep, he uses the land tax trigger to go and find 3 basics. Matt then plays an island and discards 2 lands, giving Sean 4 mana, which he can do nothing with. Mike plays a Temple of Enlightenment, scrying 1 and dumping the card to the bottom of his library. Trevor plays a Llanowar Wastes and pays 2 to cast Life from the Loam, but he has no lands to grab, so the Dredge spell just puts itself into his graveyard. Sean plays a Dragonskull Summit before casting Faith of the Devoted. With nothing else, he passes turn. Matt plays a Glacial Fortress for his land for turn before he casts Temmet. Matt then casts Serum Visions, drawing a card and scrying 2, putting both on the bottom. Mike plays a Swamp and casts Chalice of Life. Before passing turn, he taps the Chalice to gain 1 life and passes. Trevor dredges Life from the Loam instead of drawing for his turn, and he hits Diabolic Intent, a Swamp, and Survival of the Fittest. Not the world's greatest hits, unfortunately. Trevor then plays an Overgrown Tomb, taking 2 to have the land come into play untapped, and casts Farhaven Elf to find a basic land. Sean plays a Swamp for his turn and pays 3 to cast Shattered Perception. He pays the additional 1 to use Faith of the Devoted trigger, draining everyone for 2 and gaining 2 life in return. Matt plays an island for his turn and casts Thopter Spy Network before passing. Mike plays a plains and casts Grand Abolisher. Trevor voices his concern as this is a card that typically allows people to protect their combo, and Mike is known for it. But Mike only taps his Chalice and gains 1 life before passing. Trevor plays a Jungle Hollow for turn, gaining 1 life as a land comes into play. He then pays 4 to cast Panharmonicon before passing turn. Sean plays a mountain and casts Cryptbreaker during his first main phase. He then casts Lightning Greaves and equips the boots onto the zombie. Matt finds 3 basic lands on his upkeep thanks to land tax, and he plays another plains as his land for turn. Matt then casts Fairy Artisan and discards down to 7 before passing. This nets Sean 2 black mana, which he uses to activate the Cryptbreaker, discarding a card, which he then pays the 1 for Faith of Devoted, draining everyone for 2 while gaining 2, and Sean gets a zombie token. Mike plays a Godless Shrine untapped, taking 2. He then casts a Bloodgift Demon, and taps his Chalice once more before passing to Trevor. Trevor casts Life from the Loam in his first main phase to return the swamp he earlier dredged into his graveyard. He then plays said swamp and casts Mindrack Demon. Matt also gets a copy of the Mindrack Demon and has to mill himself for 4. Trevor also gets 2 triggers, milling himself for 8, and passes turn. Sean plays Archfiend of Ifnir, which Matt also gets a copy of. Sean then moves through his phases and passes. Matt plays a Temple of the False God and pays 6 to cast Dreamstone Hedron. He then puts the Temmet trigger on the Archfiend token and swings it at Sean. With nothing else, Matt passes turn. Mike takes 1 from the Bloodgift Demon as he puts the target on himself and draws for turn. He then plays a Swamp and casts Alhamret's Archive. Mike then taps his Chalice and gains 2 life before passing to Trevor. Trevor mills on his draw step to dredge back his life from the Loam, and he hits a bunch of non-creature spells unfortunately. He then casts Skyshroud Claim in his first main phase, finding 2 forests. Trevor then casts Animate Dead, bring back his Eternal Witness, and gets to return 2 cards. Matt also gets a copy of Eternal Witness, and Trevor grabs his Survival of the Fittest and Sidisi Undead Vizier. Trevor then casts Life from the Loam again to return Phyrexian Tower, Westvale Abbey, and Urbor Tomb of Yawgmoth before playing the tower. Matt decides to return his Swiftfoot Boots, and they all pass to Sean. Sean draws her turn, but doesn't do anything and instead passes. Matt gets a Thopter on his upkeep, and draws for turn before playing an island. Matt then casts the Swiftfoot Boots and equips them onto Temmet. Matt then brings out the Scytheclaw we all know and love before moving the boots onto the Germ. Matt then moves to combat and puts the Temmet trigger on his Scytheclaw and swings it at Mike. Mike takes 2 damage before losing half of his life, and Matt passes turn. Mike uses the Bloodgift Demon trigger on himself for his turn, drawing 2 from it thanks to the archive and losing 1 life. Mike then plays a Plains and casts Solemn Simulacrum to find an island. Mike then drops Seal of Cleansing and taps his Chalice to gain 2 life. Mike then decides it's time to use the seal and sacrifices it to destroy Trevor's Panharmonicon. Trevor uses Dredge on his draw step once more to bring back life from the loam. He then plays Meren during his first main phase, which Matt also gets, and drops an Urborg, Tomb of Yawgmoth. Trevor then sacrifices the Farhaven Elf to his Phyrexian Tower to gain 2 black mana, and also gains an experience counter. Trevor then uses the mana to cast Sidisi Undead Vizier, which Matt also gets a copy of. Trevor announces he's going to sacrifice his Eternal Witness, but has to wait until Matt exploits his token, and I suggest that Matt go and grab Stifle to hit Trevor's trigger, but sadly, Matt doesn't run it. Matt grabs a card, and Trevor grabs his card. Trevor then casts Spore Frog and on his end step, returns Eternal Witness to his hand. Also during Trevor's end step, Sean discards a card with a Crypt Breaker and pays to drain everyone for 2 while gaining 2 and gets a zombie. This also has the added benefit of giving all of his opponent's creatures a -1/-1 counter because of the Archfiend. Sean casts Crucible of Worlds during his first main phase and plays Bojuka Bog from his graveyard, targeting Trevor. Sean passes turn, and at the end of turn, Matt uses Secure the Waste where X is 1 to get a Soldier token. Matt gets a Thopter token on his upkeep and plays an island. He then casts Steel Shaper's Gift to find Fire Shrieker. Matt then casts the Fire Shrieker and moves to equip the Soldier with the Scythe Claw. Sean has a response though, and activates the Crypt Breaker, discarding a card to get a zombie, and puts another -1/-1 counter on all of his opponent's creatures. This wipes away most of the board, and notably this puts a bit of a damper on Matt's turn, but he still has some action and casts Bloodforged Battle Axe, which pleases Sean. Mike takes 1 again from his Bloodgift Demon, drawing 2 from the trigger and 1 for turn. He then plays an island and casts Orzhov's Signet before passing turn. Trevor loses 4 in his upkeep from the Mindrack Demon as he no longer has Delirium. He then plays a Westvale Abbey and Survival of the Fittest. Trevor then sacrifices the demon to Phyrexian Tower, giving him another experience counter. He uses the mana to cast Runescarred Demon. At this point the game's been going on for a little while, so Trevor decides to take some shortcuts, offering to tutor and bring back his Mindbreak Demon at the same time as he passes to Sean. Sean draws for turn and cycles the land he drew to draw a card. All of his opponent's creatures once again gain another -1/-1 counter, and Sean then plays Throne of the High Market from his graveyard. Trevor finishes tutoring at this point and mills himself for 4 from his demon. Sean decides now is a great time to cast Necromantic Summons, bringing out Trevor's Sholdred, and because Sean has Spell Mastery, she gains 2 +1/+1 counters. Sean decides it's a good time to pass his turn, and Matt takes the opportunity to cast Fact or Fiction, targeting Mike. Mike makes 2 piles, and Matt takes the one with Nahiri in it. Matt gets a Thopter for his upkeep, and plays an island in his main phase. Matt then overloads Cyclonic Rift in his first main phase, and Mike activates his Chalice, gaining 2 life, and casts Beacon of Immortality, doubling his life, but the amount is actually doubled thanks to the Archive. Trevor uses the opportunity to discard Eternal Witness and Avenger's Zendikar to find 2 creatures and put them into his hand thanks to Survival of the Fittest. He grabs Vorinclex and Craterhoof Behemoth. Ken nicely subs in for Sean while he's taking a work call, and puts Sean's permanence into his hand. Matt then equips the Scythe Claw into the Thopter, followed by the Boots, and finally the Battle Axe. Moving to combat, he swings the Thopter at Sean/Ken for 4, and then halves their life. Matt then gets a copy of the axe, and passes turn. Mike plays a Plains for his turn, and recasts Bloodgift Demon and the Archive. Moving to his end step, he discards the Signet, and passes to Trevor. Trevor recasts the Survival of the Fittest in his first main phase, discarding a Rootscarred Demon to find a creature. He grabs Triskelion, but discards it immediately to Survival of the Fittest to find Mikaeus the Unhallowed, which he in turn discards to Survival of the Fittest to find Phyrexian Delver. And lastly, he discards a Vorinclex to go and find Woodvault Primus. Trevor then drops a Hissing Quagmire as his land for turn, and casts Living Death. The guys bring back a bunch of stuff, and there's a bunch of triggers on the stack as a result. We then go through the proper ordering for resolving the triggers, but with Trevor having the difficult to disrupt combo on the field of Mikaeus and Triskelion, we try and work through to see if there's any way that anyone can stop it. Unfortunately, as Mike and Matt are both tapped out, they can't really offer any kind of disruption, and even Matt having the sweet Fairy Artisan doesn't do very much, unfortunately. Seeing that there's nothing they can do, and that the game's gone over for more than an hour, the guys decide to scoop it up and move on to the next game. Game review time. So I'm really enamored with this Malfegor deck. I don't know if it was just this game or what, but Sean had a lot of action going for discarding cards. It was really interesting to watch, and I hope he hasn't taken it apart by the time that I get back to New Jersey. I'm not going to spend too much time talking about Mike's deck, as the Sydri deck as we know it is no longer a thing and has instead become a Shroom deck. He seemed to only be able to draw a lot of cards and gain some life, which unfortunately didn't help out in the end when there was an infinite combo on the field. Matt's Temmet deck was a bit slow to start this game, and he wasn't putting out the pressure like he typically does in the past games. I believe Matt could have prevented the combo from going off by using the Path to Exile he had in his hand, had he one white available when the Undying trigger was on the stack. Considering how late Trevor waited until he played Meren, I'm really surprised that he was able to get a win off. I'm certain that people are going to be disappointed that he won through combo, but it wasn't as though he just lucked into it. Trevor had been planning and crafting his graveyard even after the Bajuka Bog, so I can't really fault him for the win. It really just boiled down to being in a good position at the right time and seeing that his opponents were tapped out and taking that risk. Please be sure to tune in every Monday and Thursday at 11 AM Eastern Standard Time for a guaranteed new video. You can also follow me on Twitter at MTGMudsta. You can find me on Facebook at facebook.com/mtgmudsta, and lastly, you can check me out when I stream at twitch.tv/mtgmudsta. This video is brought to you in part by support from my Patreons. If you're looking for a way to help out the channel, please be sure to visit my Patreon link below. Thank you all for watching this video, and don't forget, friends are just opponents you haven't eliminated yet.